Hey guys, here's the answer key for yesterday's work on the Google Forms. Here we go. So we got 3 plus the sine of x equals 2. You got to figure out all values of x to satisfy this equation. So we've got to get this sine of x by itself. Again, you can substitute a y for it if you want. Make it like 3 plus y equals 2. That's perfectly fine if you want to do it. But I'm just going to leave it in this form for now. So we subtract 3. We subtract 3, those cancel out, and we get the sine of x is equal to -1. So now you got to say, all right, what are all the values of x that have a sine of -1? All the angles from 0 to 360, because that's what we restricted the domain to, 0 to 360. All the angles from 0 to 360 have a sine of -1. And you can look at your reference chart, you can use the graph, you can use the unit circle, anything you want. Use a calculator, and you'll see that the only value of x will be 270 degrees. That happens, right? You could think of the sine graph if you want, goes up, down. The only time from 0 to 360 that you get to -1, which is down here, is at 70 degrees. Hard to write while holding my iPad. So that first one is 270 degrees, okay? The second question was what? -2 equals -2 tangent of x. Sorry, -2 plus the tangent of x. So we got to get this tangent of x by itself. So we're going to add 2 to each side. Those are going to cancel out. Those cancel out. We get 0 is equal to the tangent of x. So now I say, all right, what are all the values of x that have a tangent that's 0? Well, we know that tangents is equal to sine over cosine, okay? So tangent is going to be equal to 0 anytime sine is equal to 0. Not cosine, because where cosine is 0, it's undefined. So anywhere that sine is equal to 0, and we could just use the same diagram here. It's at 0 degrees. This is at 180 degrees, and here's at 360 degrees. So that means the answers from 0 to 360 is that x equals 0, 180, and 360. So there's 3 answers for number 2, okay? Number 3 was 2 cosine of x is equal to 1. So we got to get this cosine of x by itself. We divide by 2. Divide by 2. Let me put this over here, actually. And then we just get the cosine of x is equal to 1/2. So all the values of x, all the angles that have a cosine of positive 1/2. Okay, so we look at our chart, which I put up yesterday. I don't have it handy right now, but we know that the reference angle would be equal to 60 degrees because the cosine of 60 is equal to 1/2. Now, what quadrants is cosine positive in, right? We have all students take calculus. They're all in the first quadrant, and their cosine is in the fourth quadrant. So, okay. So first quadrant, fourth quadrant is where it's positive. So the reference angle is 60. So in the first quadrant, we have a 60-degree angle. And in the fourth quadrant, we have a 300-degree angle. Because 360 minus 60 is 300. So the answers for number 3 are 60 and 300. I need a new piece of paper. Sorry. All right. Our fourth question was radical 3 over 2 is equal to negative cosine of x. So we just have to get cosine of x by itself. Right now we have negative cosine of x. So if we divide both sides by -1, we get negative radical 3 over 2 is equal to positive cosine of x. And we say, all right, what are all the values of x, all the angles from 0 to 360 that have a cosine that's negative radical 3 over 2? So you look at your chart, and we say, all right, the reference angle is going to be 30 degrees because the cosine of 30 is equal to positive radical 3 over 2. Now we say, all right, what quadrants are we in? Well, cosine is negative in quadrants 2 and quadrants 3. So then we say, all right, here are our answers. In the second quadrant, the reference angle is 30, so we do 180 minus 30 and we get 150. In the third quadrant, the reference angle is 30, so we do 180 plus 30, and we get 210. So that's why the answer for number 4 is 150 and 210. All right, then we've got number 5, which is -6 cosine of x is equal to -3. Now, this one looks different, but it's actually the same exact problem as which one? Number 3. Because what happens when we divide both sides by -6 to get the cosine of x by itself? Divide by -6, we get -3 over -6, which just cosine of x is equal to +1/2. And we did that one already, and we saw it was 60 and 300 because we're in quadrants 1 and 4. And then lastly, number 6, we've got -6 sine x equals -3 radical 3. Divide both sides by -6. We get the sine of x is equal to radical 3 over 2. Negative divided by negative is positive. 3 over 6 is 1/2. So we say, all right, what are all the values of x that have a sine of radical 3 over 2? So all the values of x that have a sine of radical 3 over 2, we've got a reference angle of 60 degrees. And since it's positive, we're in quadrants 1 and 2. So in the first quadrant, we've got 60. And in the second quadrant, we do 180 minus 60, which is 120. So that's why those are your answers. All right. Any questions? Let me know.